Good evening. This is Eric with His&Hers HHQ, His&Hers Hobby Headquarters over on Facebook. Be sure to follow us over there for more pictures, updates, and links to videos. If you have questions or comments, feel free to leave them. If you happen to like these videos, please like, subscribe, share. Help us grow and promote the hobby of scale model building. All right, first and foremost, you'll notice that the last 2 Fridays I haven't released a model quickie. I haven't done a quick video just to cover something. Well, that's because I've been mulling something over in my head and I really wanted to kind of get it out there. So real quick, before we get into updates on the VUC, we're going to discuss story time. It's not going to be a long subject matter. It's just something I wanted to, a subject I've wanted to broach. A lot of people may find it, or get offended or butthurt by what I have to say. But before I got back into scale modeling, I watched hundreds, if not thousands, of different videos of people building scale models. Most of the time running through my head, boy, I wish I was that good. I knew that if I set my mind to it, I could get to the point where I would feel like I could accomplish some of what they were doing. But it was just something I hadn't got back into the scale modeling, but it's one of those things I would watch and be like, man, those guys are epic. And I say guys in a broad term because there are several female builders and they are really, really accomplished scale model builders. But so I use guys as a blanket subject, just, get it out there. Anyway, I've seen a lot of content creators that when they build a model, it comes out that the model will look really, really good. And we're talking IPMS show quality award-winning builds. Some of them are just random vehicles or armor or aircraft, just nothing overly unique. It's just there. I don't know if this is coming across correctly, but it's like if you pull into a parking lot, a auto dealership, and they have 15 F-150s sitting there. I'm going with Ford. 15 F-150 Ford pickups. Every single one of them are identical, inside and out, except for maybe, different paint, body colors. One may be red, a couple of blues, maybe a silver gray, something. But they're all identical. There is nothing special about them. But they may be, because they look all dressed up real nice and neat, may be showroom quality. Well, that's what I see a lot of content creators. I'm not going to say most, I'm not going to say a vast majority, I'm going to say a lot of content creators. I see them produce these kits that are just standard. They're definitely award-winning quality, but they're just standard. Then I see some content creators that do it, and I don't feel like they actually. I get the sense that they do enjoy the build, but they're looking for authenticity, as in looking for all the right, well, what we call in scale model building, what we call rivet counters. They look for every little detail has to match exactly to the actual thing they're building. So, for an example, someone builds a number 3 Dale Earnhardt. Well, this person, this rivet counter may actually literally take the time out to make sure all the sponsor decals, the paint job, the interior tub, the wires, the plugs, the engine color, the transmission color, everything down to the finest detail matches the exact car, the actual car. And it's a fantastic model. It looks beautiful. It's definitely also an award-winning piece. But those two categories of builders, I feel like they're lacking something. And that is where the rest of the content creators I've seen, what I grew up with and what I want to convey now. Outside of promoting the hobby, there's a story there. I want to tell a story with my builds. So that F-16 straight out of the box, well, that was just straight out of the box. The decals provided were for a specific airplane in a specific color scheme. But I didn't go with that specific color scheme. I changed it up. The decals are the same, but the colors are different. I gave it that grayish drab upper surface and that brighter gray lower surface. It just, there's a story there, not just working with what you as the builder has to work with, but there's a story there. It's like if that F-16 were going into combat, not all camouflage schemes work. That F-16 could be stationed somewhere flying over Arctic oceans, or somewhere around the Arctic or Antarctic regions, where if you were looking down on it, it would really kind of blend more with the runway or darker rock surfaces and stuff like that. And if you were looking up at it, that lighter gray would blend more with the sky. So while there's not a massive story there, there's a little more to tell with the color scheme. Well, I do that with a lot of my models. I like to say that there's something there, like the 65 Ford utility truck that I turned into a flatbed. I did it up as like, well, that's Grandpa's truck. Not necessarily my grandpa, but you get the point. That's grandpa's truck. That's an old farm truck. He slapped an oversized flatbed on it. And the truck, it's got duals and all of that mess. But what you don't see is up under the hood. It's a turbocharged 5.0 liter 302. You mess with the truck, you're gonna lose. That's the point. There's a story there. Well, this build here, this VUC, just before we get into the update, I understand I'm not a Barris or I want to say Tom Daniel, but I'm not positive. These guys who made automobiles into works of art. The Munster Mobile, the Dragula, the Monkey Mobile, Batmobile, you name it, these guys created works of art. There was a story behind each one. And I understand I'm not that guy. I'm me. And what I'm doing here is this will have a story. This VUC will have a story. While it is in my head, it's really changed. The concept is still the same, and I do appreciate that that gentleman who pulled into the McDonald's parking lot driving a VUC. The inspiration for the base of what I'm working on comes from that. But in my head, this thing has evolved from more than just a VUC. I'm going more with it because I see more as I go. It's just how my brain works. I'm sorry. I'm really scattered and all over the place sometimes. And that's, I like to tell a story with the models. So this will be the first in what I hope is a series of models. I've actually got a name for them. I'm not going to share it because it's mine, and I want to get it done and get it out there first. But this is the first, and granted, it's going to represent my favorite individual, second favorite individual of all of what I'm talking about. So just bear with me. Just keep following along and you'll see where I'm going with this. It's really, really cool. But anyway, as you can see, we have, this is loosely mocked up. I needed to see precisely how much space I was going to need to extend the chassis. Now, and I had to do that and loosely mock this up so I could see where it was, and it's just fun to share it with you. As you can see, I'm going to have to add roughly 1.75 inches here to the chassis length in order to get this all to sit right. As you can see, I've got some filling done here where I cut out the sliding door, then I cut off 1/3 of it. As you can see here, I've done a little bit of work on it so it looks a little nicer, a little sharper. And I reattached that portion of the door. I've got some filling done in, but as I go, I will make sure everything else is nice and smooth. I've got this first bit here. As you can see, I've got a lot more sanding to do and a little bit more filling in here, a little bit of putty work. I've got a brace. It's kind of hard to see, but I've got a shim along the bottom here, along this section of the body, because it was so thin it actually snapped right here. So I've got this shim in place. It adds a little bit of rigidity, a little bit more support as I go along. I've got this side done, filled in. It's a little bit better off here than it is on this side. As you can see, I still have to square that off a little bit more. I have some extra filling I have to do here in the process of getting this attached. I somehow wore a hole in that, but I digress. As I've gone along, though, with this build, I've realized more and more that I need to actually do an interior, because it'll be easier for me, I think, if I attach the door open instead of shut. I mean, I can shim it up and get everything glued in place and everything be good to go, but it would still just be as it is. I don't think it would look quite right. It might. I haven't quite decided. I may do it open, but I may just have it closed. The back door will be centered, maybe open, but I do enjoy the prospect, the challenge of doing an interior. Now, just bear with me. The interior may look nice. I'm going to go all out as best I can to make this interior look fantastic, headliner and all. But I'm going to do inner walls here and here. And as you can see, the bulk of this here is, I don't know if you can hear that, it's sanded pretty flat. I got rid of all the ridges on top of the van, and as you can see, that's some thick plastic. So it was kind of a bear getting this down. But this will be a bed because I'm literally going to raise the roof. It's going to be kind of something like that, slightly angled. I'm not putting any windows in the front, but I will have like a couple of side windows here and here, just because I know when I had my camper van, didn't have any windows in the front, but it had them beside the bed, so if you climbed in the bed part, you could still see out the windows. Anyway, I do not have the bed finished. Mind you, this whole past week has been crazy. I've literally been all over the state, down to Springfield, up to Columbia, the VA Medical Center, Orthopedic Hospital. I've been all over the place. But so I haven't gotten as much work done as I would have liked, but as you can see, like even the interior tub is cut and ready for me to add in the extra pieces here, get rid of this bit here, these ribs. I'm going to go at something like this, like straight across, and get rid of all those, flatten them out, and then get the sheet styrene in place. But so anyway, I'm sitting here holding this. this front section, I had to put in pieces here, little bits of styrene, and so that when I do get back to sanding this down, it doesn't leave a uber thin piece of plastic that's ready to break. So I had to add sheets here, little strips, in order to strengthen it and add more backing to this. But before I add these to the bed, I need to come back and get rid of this piece of decor. I don't know how well you can see it, this ridge here, and I need to get rid of this here. I'm going to leave this little bit of flare on the wheel well, but I'm getting rid of this trim here and getting rid of this. I will have to do some rescribing here to keep that line, but otherwise, that next time you see these will be flush here and here, and this will be just one solid ring going all the way down. And well, then they should actually be attached here. But the way I'm doing this, the way I am lengthening the frame, and this is just a hint or a tip, the way I'm doing it. You see, I've got this piece of styrene here. It's let's see here. It is looks like it's not quite 2 mil by 2 mil square. It's a square tube. Anyway, I'm going to cut this to length. I'm going to hollow out the inside of here and here on both sides of the frame, just enough to be able to get this to recess just a little bit. And I'm going to cut the strip however long I need, and I'm going to stack it. It's going to be double stacked here. This is going to provide rigidity. Then when that's done, we're breaking out the really thin, this is styrene, really thin sheet of styrene. We're going to cut it into strips and add on the bottom and the sides. And by the time I'm done with the sanding and attaching everything, you won't be able to tell that I lengthened the frame. It will look, well, pretty well identical all the way down. Well, except for this little groove. If you looked at it from the bottom, you wouldn't be able to tell, or the side, you will not be able to tell that I lengthened the chassis. And that's just because if at some point in time I ever managed to get to a model show and I wanted to enter something, I would want to enter this. And I would want to do so where it's sitting on a mirror so that the judges can look at the mirror and see the work I've done underneath. Evidently, judges have a bad habit of touching the model kits and picking them up and looking all over the place. And I tell you right now, that drives most modelers nuts. There's a reason why they have little signs that says, "Do not touch the models." But I digress. So this is where we are right now. I have gotten a lot of work done, but when we come around for our update and give you our brief update next Wednesday, we'll be much further along. Unless something in life throws a monkey wrench into this build again. It happens, but all you got to do is keep plugging along. So again, I'm Eric with His&Hers HHQ, His&Hers Hobby Headquarters over on Facebook. Like, subscribe, share the videos. Feel free to comment and follow us over there on Facebook and share it with all your friends. Help us grow. Build for you. Enjoy the hobby. Have a good day.